tell you a little bit about what is possible with solar, and specifically what's possible with solar here at Mimosa. If you don't know Simone, she is one of the finest people you will meet. So irrelevant, her regardless of her work, but that as well is outstanding. So Simone.
So yeah, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what the plans are for Mimosa. If we would have been doing this project maybe just 6 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible, because this is due south, just about due south right here. So what we're talking about doing on Mimosa is an east-west system. So you can see kind of the temple Romanesque structure there. We're going to be going on the east and west sides of this, so you won't see it at all. So let me start from the beginning though. So when we presented this to mayor and council, and I believe that board is right over here, I don't know, they're moving my boards around, but we got unanimous approval. And one of the reasons that we did is because, according to the Secretary of the Interior, for historic preservation, if you want to put new technology on there, it should not be something that dominates the facade. It should really take a back seat to what's going on. So it's a great segue to talk about President Jimmy Carter's panels that he put on the White House here. So this panel, the technology, this is a type of crystalline panel, okay? And now you can see this is probably 5-6 inches thick. Now the crystalline technology is about 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, okay? We've gone from that to this, which was a first, actually this is a second generation amorphous thin film, okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. What makes this really unique as a panel is this crystalline panel, it can only connect, the sun hits it and it transfers energy basically in a straight line. So it's got some curves to it. The amorphous thin film is kind of like an amoeba. If you try to put an amoeba against another amoeba and tried to say how many points can it touch, they're infinite, right? So the amorphous thin film can transfer energy any place. So if part of this is shaded, the rest of the panel will just still generate energy and transfer it. On crystalline panels, if part of the panel is shaded, that panel shuts down and it slows down the efficiency of the strain. So that's the big difference in technology here. So the inventor of this, Oshinsky, you can keep listening to the news for the next 5 years and you will hear his name a lot, because he really is the Edison of our time. He's the one that invented this amorphous thin film. He also invented the lithium battery and chose not to patent it because the technology would grow faster, okay? So if we talk about the amount of energy that we can produce, this panel will generate about 10 times more than what this old crystalline panel did. This is the next generation. This is our latest generation of the amorphous thin film. This is a little sample panel. It's not supposed to generate energy. If I put my little probes on it, you'll see that it generates energy, okay? This panel generates about 4 times, 400% more than what this last generation did. It's kind of like computer technology. I mean, it's like growing really fast. So the crystalline technology is dominated in the United States, but in Europe, this is the technology that dominates. Right now, Germany has more installed solar than any place else in the world, although the United States is quickly catching up. They're in the process of replacing all of their crystalline panels with amorphous thin film like this. The reason why, if you imagine this gets laminated with a very aggressive adhesive to a standing seam metal roof. You talk about wind uplift from tornadoes or hurricanes, not a problem. When we mount these, the crystalline panels, they have to be mounted, so that gives the opportunity for uplift. And it's also, this becomes more invisible as well to the structure itself. So what we're talking about doing with Mimosa, I mentioned earlier that it's an east-west system. So what that means is, with the advancement of inverters, we have to have an inverter. This is DC, direct current technology. What's in our houses is AC, alternating current. So we have to invert this DC to make it AC current so we can use it, okay? About 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, the inverter technology, SMA, who is a large American company, the largest in the world that manufactures inverters, they came up with an MPPT. It's a multiple power point tracker, okay? Which means that before all of the energy, the panels that were laid out, before we would take, like if I'm facing south and my blue pants are the panels, I had to face everybody the same direction, and the amount of energy that I got was based on the weakest link here on my pants. So if I had part of this in shade, that I'm only going to get this little teeny bit, okay? With the MPPT, what it means is it will adjust itself automatically. So the east-west system, part of the sun I'm getting in the morning and part of the sun I'm getting in the afternoon, and it allows us to maximize that energy harvesting. The other thing that we're doing is that any crystalline panel like this or like this, any solar panel at all, the hotter it gets, the lower the amount of energy that it produces, okay? So my partner and I were talking, and I said, wouldn't it be great if we could figure out a way to wick the heat away and make the solar panels produce more energy and then do something else with the energy? So Denise said, oh, we should put it into hot water. So that's what this is. This runs, so when we take off the roof on Mimosa, we're going to put something very similar to this down on top, but it's going to have rigid foam insulation. That's very dense insulation in this to give us insulation on the roof. Typically we'd use a spray foam on the interior, but if you've ever been up in that attic, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's really old growth timbers that they use to make the whole roof system, so we didn't want to interrupt that. So we're putting this rigid foam to give us our insulation. Then we're putting, this is a high temp water vapor barrier that goes on next. Then we're going to put these things down that Denise thought of. So these little channels right here.
If you want to join the Tuckers, raise your hand over there.
That's all right. That's all right. So what this does is this creates a channel here to take the heat. And then if you looked at the end of this, there's a little teeny silver in this PEX tubing here. It's called oxygenated tubing. This is what they use in hospitals, okay? And it keeps the temperature constant. In the whatever you put in here, it keeps the temperature constant. So we're wicking the heat away from the metal roof. We're transferring it into this medium, which is a closed loop system that goes into a solar boiler that's like an old-timey electric eye on a stove. It's just a coil. And then that heats up the water in the tank. So we're able to take the city water, which is about 54 degrees, up to say, maybe on a day like today, probably 112.
Wow.
So if you've got your water heater set to 116, or you left it at manufacturer settings, which is 124, shame on you. But if you did that, then we've decreased that delta T. So I don't see any elementary kids or anybody, but it's very education rich in the things that we can learn from this, which I get really excited about. So that we're going to have 2 tanks for domestic hot water. And then I wanted to show you this. You can kind of pass my phone around if you want. This is live. This is my system at my house. I'm generating right now, 1,924 watts of energy, and my house is using 268, okay? So what that means is, with solar energy, sometimes what happens is I generate more than what I can actually use. So what am I going to do with it, okay? So now here we are at a great opportunity again with technology. Sonnen, which is a German battery company, just opened up a manufacturing facility in Norcross, Georgia. We can take the excess energy from the solar system, we put it in a bank of batteries. What's unique about their batteries versus, say, a Tesla or an LG Chem or your electric car battery is, those are lithium batteries. What they're using is a lead battery. It's heavy, okay? But if we say this is my battery bank here to here, this is 0 and this is 100, a lithium battery, it'll fill up to 100 one time, it'll go to 0 one time, and then every time after that it won't go quite up and it won't quite go down. So over 10 years, that's it. Your warranty's done because your battery life can't take it anymore. With a lead-based battery, it's really infinite. Your system can keep charging and recharging 100% to 0%, and there's no chance, the chance of fire is greatly minimized because of the technology. Lithium batteries can be very flammable if they're located inside a house. But the Sonnen technology is really fascinating because what they're doing right now in Germany is that they're saying they've got these batteries installed in this part of Germany and batteries installed in this part of Germany. Their grid is a public utility, okay? It's owned by the citizens of Germany. So what that means is if they've got a power outage down here, and this is another part of the country, the computer technology, which will have the same technology in these inverters, can send energy over here. So now think about it. If we've got, this will be the first city building, if we had a power outage and somewhere in City Hall or the hospital needed energy for emergency care, or we've got a school that needed energy because it's a tornado or something like that, these systems can send energy to where they're needed. They can also provide energy at night, and so that's how we're getting to zero energy. So every day, like I showed you on my phone, there are times of the day that you just can't use all the energy. So here's the next thing, and this is where Scott comes in. Where's Scott? Well, Scott's around here somewhere, but he's going to want to chime in because in the United States, most areas have a renewable portfolio standard. Georgia does not, okay? That is a $49 billion industry every year because for every 1,000 kilowatts that I generate, not only do I get the energy, I get what's called an SREC, okay? So if we look over here, this system we're expecting to generate at least 29 SRECs a year. That's in addition to the free energy. If Georgia will adopt a renewable portfolio standard, those SRECs have value. It's like having a bond or a stock certificate. The value fluctuates, okay? In Washington, D.C., the SRECs are very high. In New Jersey, the value, I checked a couple weeks ago, so it goes up and down, okay? But it was about $1,300 in SREC. Now that's a game changer. We've got a historic building here that, as you know, fundraising is very difficult, right? What if you get to start, so we formed Mimosa Energy, so what if you get to start with having that money already in the bank, and now, and that's, Scott formed Mimosa LLC, so, or Mimosa Energy LLC, so those SRECs, when they have value, can be sold, and that money will be donated back to Friends of Mimosa. So that's huge. It's huge. And that's where we really do believe that this will become a catalyst. So the government, a city can't own the SRECs, and a nonprofit can't own the SRECs. But another entity can own the SRECs. And if it's altruistic, then all those funds go right back where you want them to, right?
So, Simone, does this mean that we'll be generating $40,000 worth of credits because of this? 30 RECs times
yeah.
$1,300.
Yeah.
So approximately $40,000.
Yeah, and that's going to vary, you know, each year, right? But the value of the SRECs is only going to continue to increase because that is an offset for carbon tax.
Wait, I don't understand SRECs.
Okay. SREC is a solar renewable energy credit. Okay, you get SRECs from different types of things. Solar energy is the only type of SREC that you get 100% of the value that you generate. So one SREC equals 1,000 kilowatt hours of generated energy.
Who do you get it from?
The sun.
No.
The sun.
You get the value. Where do you?
No, you sell the credits to
Yeah,
companies that need it.
you sell the credits.
Okay.
So you sell the credit. I know it's a difficult concept because it's kind of out in the ether. I mean, even our energy, I mean, we don't really kind of tag on that, you know. Sure.
To make it work, I mean, who do we need to approach about this? Is it the Public Service Commission, or is it the legislature, or where's
All the above. All the above. Okay. Public Service Commission have huge influences on this. Okay. I can tell you that Southern Company and Georgia Power, I mean, and I've dealt with them, and this is not saying anything negative about them, but they have felt very threatened by this. Okay. But They really shouldn't, because if you think of, and this is how they use the grid in like Germany, okay, but the difference is that the citizens own it. If we do something here and we think of the grid as an ISP, all right, and you want to get on the internet, you got to pay your ISP to get on the internet, right? So they still get their money. But then they have to build less plants, so that saves us all money, right? But they're still getting their money. And our public utilities are supposed to be not for profit. So it really, I mean, in other states, it's not a conflict. And so the other thing that I want to say is that if you all are looking at putting any type of solar system on your home, one of the things, and I'm not here to sell like solar, okay? I'm involved in this because I believe that we need to do better, and we can build better buildings. If we're doing new buildings or if we're renovating, we can do things that reduce our energy consumption, and that helps everybody. And right now it's good business. But if you sign up for something right now and you have solar on your house, do not sell it back to Georgia Power. And I'm going to tell you why. They're going to give you a fraction of what you should be getting for that. And they own all of your environmental attributes, which includes these SRECs. So they're using your SRECs. If you have solar on your house, they're taking your SRECs and they're giving them to Coca-Cola or other companies to offset their carbon, but they're not giving you the fair market value of it. And so that's already been tried in the state of California and Connecticut and Pennsylvania, and the court system said you can't do that because it's not your system. But nobody's challenged it here yet. So does anybody else have questions?
So what will it take to get every public roof in the city of Roswell solarized?
I really think it's just a matter of education, because like I said, I mean, now it's at a point where it's good business. So I think, you know, as we everybody's all aware, especially right now, because, you know, we just sent our tax returns in of what we're paying for different things. And I think it's just a matter of being just educated and understanding that the technology is here now and it works. I mean, here again is a great example. Jimmy Carter did this how many years ago?
Oh yeah.
And then the next person took them off? It's like, how insane is that, right? But at the time, I mean, it really wasn't kind of like headline news, really. I mean, to some of us it was, but I mean, for a lot of people, you just kind of didn't get what was going on. It was like, well, that was okay. Go ahead.
I got a question about